Mark My Words is an intensely personal podcast that gives you my lived experience of what it's like to live with mental illness. And at the moment, my mind is telling me that I am defeated, that I have lost my battle with mental illness. I have to challenge those thoughts. I have to change my mindset. We're going to dive into that today and we'll see how we go. I don't know if I'm going to be able to finish this or if I'll upload it. Let's just see what happens. Welcome to Mark My Words. Mark My Words is the story of my journey from a place where I was shattered to where I could live again. When I started Mark My Words a couple of years ago, I wanted it to be one person with mental illness speaking to another person with mental illness. It has always been intensely personal, and it's always been topical, and it's been based on what I'm going through at the moment. And when I was looking at titles for today's podcast, when I was thinking about what I wanted to speak about, nothing came out right for me. Nothing, I want people to be able to click on the link and hear, something that's going to make them feel better or help them or whatever. But nothing was coming to me. And I started to think about it. I was wondering why this was, why it was that I was unable to come up with anything or anything that I thought was of value. And I took a step back and I looked at my whole life at the moment. And I massively feel like I am defeated. I've been beaten. See, I've been living with mental illness for so long that I don't even remember what so-called normal life was supposed to look like. All of my interactions, all of my responses are all directed through this filter of mental illness. And I'm very lucky that I have my wife and my kids who I'm able to bounce stuff off and just go, look, where am I with my head in this? Am I completely off the dial? Sometimes I am. And other times I get affirmed that, hang on, you know what, Mark, that's your mind lying to you. And I talk about that a little bit, about the fact that your mind is a liar, because that mental illness has affected you. It's affected your decision making. It has affected your recollections. It's affecting every single part of you. And for the most part, it's lying to you. The biggest lie that keeps resounding in my head is this idea that nobody truly understands what I'm going through. And this bears out in some of the responses that I get, some of the messages from people that listen, telling me that I don't understand and I can't possibly understand, and how dare I try and be an authority in this space when I don't know the entirety of somebody's experience. And that is true. I don't know what you've been through. I don't know what your response was to what you've been through. But the thing about mental illness is it's a collective experience. Now, I've spoken with, when I say spoken, I've given talks at schools. I've done it over 400 times. And each and every time I've told my story with another person. So I've heard hundreds of stories, and I've heard stories of people that live with schizophrenia, bipolar, OCD, sexual assault trauma, you name it, I've spoken with them. And the bottom line is that the experience of mental illness is generally exactly the same. It's generally, I understand what depression looks like. I understand what anxiety looks like. I understand what hyper-awareness looks like. I understand what a hallucination is. I might not have had as many of those incidents as other people, and it may have happened to me in a very, very different circumstance. But the fact of the matter is that all of us that have lived through suicidal ideation, attempted suicides, caring for others that have attempted and caring for people that we've lost to suicide, our experience at the bottom line is all the same. Now, my brother is a veteran. Now, of course, his PTSD is different from mine because I just got beat up by a bunch of disabled people over and over again over a number of years. I never actually had people fire weapons at me. I can't understand his trauma, what it was like for him, what it's like to be in combat, what it's like to be, a technical person that's doing some work with a bunch of other people around you, protecting you. I don't know what it feels like to feel that helpless in that particular situation. But I do understand what it's like to feel helpless when you're in the room with a maniac with a knife and you feel like there's no help and there's nothing that you can do. You can't touch them because they're a person that has diminished capacity, and if they get a bruise on them, it doesn't matter that you've been cut open. You are still seen as the aggressor and the abuser. You feel incredibly helpless in that situation. Very, very different trauma, but the end feeling is the same. That feeling of absolute depression. That depression that I remember once I saw my wife in the morning and she said, "Okay, see you later." And I lay down on the floor face down. And then to me, it was 5 minutes. Someone kicked me and it was my wife. And it was 12 hours later. She'd been to work. She'd gone to work. She'd had a day at work, hadn't been able to contact me all day, came back and I was laying in exactly the same position, face down on the floor, unable to move through my depression. The panic attacks that come at different times, completely debilitating, thinking that I'm dying, unable to breathe, the hyper awareness, being startled and falling into that immediate fight or flight over and over and over and over again. That feeling of being lost and alone and forgotten. The feeling of frustration that I'm living with this mental illness. There's so many parallels to your experience and my experience that we need to stop bringing people down when they share their story. Now, there's so much going on in my space at the moment, professionally and personally. My mind is telling me that I have lost, that I've been defeated. I don't know what your experience is. I don't know what your trauma is. I don't know what your mental illness is. But I know that feeling of being lost, alone, empty, and defeated. I don't have advice for you today per se. I'm saying things today that I need to listen to, that I need to hear. The fact of the matter is that even though I'm living with this horrible mental illness, this impactful, terrible thing, there are people out there that understand. There are people that know what I'm going through. I guess I want to speak to all of us when I say that you are still on your feet. You are still trying. You are not defeated. There are setbacks. There are pitfalls. There are situations where you feel like you failed. But the fact of the matter is that you are not defeated. And the reason I know that is because you're listening to my words today. If you truly felt that there was no hope, you wouldn't be listening to this random podcast, listening to this guy talking about what he goes through. It's these little things that you need to see as being successes, as victories for what they really are. And that is a victory. As defeated as I feel, as little as I wanted to do this podcast today, I'm still doing it. And it's not because I'm heroic or I'm better than anybody or stronger than anyone. It's because in my mind, I've decided that this is the path that my life is going to go down. This is the choice I've made. And I'm not going to fall away from it just because I'm not feeling great. The fact that you're listening, the fact that you're still on your feet, the fact that you're trying means it proves that you aren't defeated. You showed up today. You got out of bed today. You got dressed today. You got dressed in new clothes today. You didn't just pick up the clothes that you dropped beside your bed last night and put those on. You chose to wear better clothes, your new clothes. You brushed your teeth today. These might all sound insignificant and juvenile and infantile even, but the fact that you've done them proves that you're not defeated. And this eventually is where hope will come from. It doesn't come overnight. I know that. I hated the word hope. You couldn't even say the word hope to me without me getting angry. But I've learned to understand what hope truly is. Hope is the evidence that things will get better. It's the evidence that, my today is better than my yesterday. I am better today than I was yesterday. Might be an infinitesimal, tiny hair's breadth, nothing of an improvement, but it's still an improvement. I'm still here. I'm saying this to me today as much as I'm suggesting it for anybody else that might be hearing. Don't walk around allowing your mind to lie to you and tell you that you've lost. If you're walking around, if you're flicking through your phone, if you're cooking for your family, if you're picking up your wife today, if you're taking your kids to school, if you're taking the kids to the park, if you're cooking dinner, you are not defeated. And all these little things might seem like they are immaterial, unimportant, but you did it. And tomorrow you're going to be able to do it again, and the day after, and the day after. And eventually you're going to start realizing that doing those things is helping you to get better. And you'll know that my today is so much better than my yesterday. Whatever you're going through, whatever it is that you're facing, you are not defeated. There is still time. There is still, dare I say it, hope. I've said it so many times that a ship that is at anchor will never be able to go anywhere. Our anchor is that belief that we are defeated, like a ship with the anchor stuck to the bottom of the sea. You have to challenge that thought that you're not defeated and just move in a direction in it. It might be a nothing movement that you make, but it's still, you've made it. Whatever you're going through, whatever your life looks like at the moment, you are not defeated. You are not alone. And even though the whole world might be telling you this, after this, I'm going to be reading a few comments on YouTube and it's going to break my heart. There's going to be people there that are angry at me because I talk about this stuff, people that call me a sook. But I don't do it for them. I do it for you, the person that needs to hear this today. I hope that you like, share, subscribe. There's lots of ways that you can support us. All the details are in below us on our YouTube channel. I will endeavor to put them on all the other channels as well. I appreciate you. I'm going to be here next week. I hope you are too. I look forward to speaking to you then. Bye for now. Bye-bye. Thank you for listening to Mark My Words. I'd like to thank my producer, Meredith Brosnan, and also Torian, Kevin, and Lorraine. And I can't forget the band Adelaide, who allows us to use their song as our theme.